Hi. It's been a year since I've vlogged. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to my gloomy house. My second day, no makeup, rushed the kid off to school. Look, there's a lot to update you on, so I'm gonna take my time to do it. I wanna be as authentic as possible in these vlogs, which is hard to do, I think, just because, I don't know, I often think because my husband and I are both performers in one shape or another, that it's easy for us to like just put on a performance and look authentic doing it. So I'm gonna try, one thing I wanna try to do as I revivify this vlog is to try to be as authentic as possible, which will probably make editing really interesting. Anyway, I'm making some coffee. It's the last of my maple autumn coffee, which I get like every year. And last year was like, we got really tired of it quickly, but this year's I can't get enough. I think this is like our third bag since, I don't know, since it came out, whenever that was. So I'm like, do I go to Trader Joe's today? Am I going back to Trader Joe's just to go get some coffee? I mean, I'd probably get some other things too, but I don't want to go to the store. Anyway, oh my gosh, there's so much to update you on. Should I just show you? Yeah, seriously. This is the project today, but I don't know if I'm gonna get to it. These are all baby clothes. And there's a method to all of this. Yes, oh boy. So I'll give you a rundown of what's happening today. First off, because it's gonna distract me. Do you see my nails? I couldn't decide on a color the other day. And these are all like the SE Quick Dry. I have in all of these colors, and I was like, I like all of these colors and I can't choose. And anyway, I just walked in the door and I randomly bought this greeting card the other day. Where were we? CVS. We're at CVS getting flu shots, and I saw this card. It was very mid-century modern, which I love mid-century stuff, but not like to where my whole home is mid-century modern. I do appreciate it though, the design for the most part, before it gets like a little too obvious. But I saw this card. It's over there on the piano. Can you see? It's right. It's like, let me do a phone zoom here. No, it won't let me. Why? Anyway, it's over there. I'll post a picture. And I walked in the door, and I just bought the card because it was pretty, and I liked it. And I thought, maybe I'll frame it. I don't want to give it to someone. I want to keep it for myself. This hair is driving me crazy. And walked in the door, and I was like, I looked at the colors on it, and I was like, oh. Total mid-century modern colors. And anyway, I've never done this before. I've never done multiple colors on my fingers. I was bored. I've got good pregnancy nails right now. Yeah, oh, and I'm pregnant, if you can't put two and two together. So I guess I'll go ahead and let me tell you what's going on this morning, because I'm a little bit in a time crunch. I have less than an hour right now to hopefully shower and fix this straight scarecrow mess and make a lunch for my daughter. She's in school now. She's in preschool. And she's also doing a catechesis class at our parish. Catechesis of the Good Shepherd, if you know what that is. It's awesome. And she's doing that right now, and I have to go pick her up and then take her to her preschool, which is at another church, the same preschool that I went to. Anyway, so I gotta get showered. I need to make her lunch, and I gotta go pick her up at 10:30, and it's 9:30. It's 9:30 right now, so I have an hour. I mean, an hour till I have to be on the doors of the school to pick her up. It takes about 15 minutes drive. It's rainy, so about 15 minutes. So 45 minutes, give or take, to do all that stuff. I can do it. But I'll bring you along with me. I wasn't really planning on vlogging today, but I've had some conversations with people about revivifying the vlog and documenting everything that we're going to be going through in the coming months and the remaining bits of this pregnancy. And if I ask anything, I want to ask that you all be patient with me of getting things up when I can. You'll understand why later in this video. Yeah, just be patient. I'm going to try to get everything up as soon as I can. And monitoring my emotional well-being, my stress levels and whatnot. Anyway, I'm a little out of breath. I'm 31 weeks pregnant, 31 weeks and 3 days. So it's countdown. Probably this is lovely. Do you like these angles? This is my pregnancy double chin. What was I saying? 31 weeks. I'm probably gonna be induced around 39, but my due date is January 7th, day after Epiphany. A week before that, 39 weeks would be New Year's. So I don't know if the doctors want to do that. We shall see. But they won't give me an induction date till I'm closer to 34 weeks. So probably like after Thanksgiving, I'll have an induction date. Not looking forward to that. Not looking forward to the Pitocin again. That's what I did with my first, which was totally an option, and we decided to do it. I think the coffee's done. I'm gonna go get coffee. I gotta get moving. It's hot, but good. All right, let's go take a shower. You can't come. Running very late. Like 10 minutes. My hair is still wet. There you have it. PB&J, almonds, cucumbers and salt, grapes and blueberries, carrots and barbecue hip peas, and a diet cheese steak. Oh, I just threw up in my mouth. Well, that's authentic. Okay. It's 10:16. I said I needed 15 minutes to get there so I don't have to drive on a wet highway because I don't like driving on the highways when they're wet or when they're dark. I will, but I don't like it. I have half of my makeup done. I didn't do my eyes at all. You can tell. My eyes are very dark brown and my lashes are blonde. And so it just looks like I have like little black dots for eyes when I don't have my makeup on. And my hair's wet, obviously, so I had to do this. Not what I planned, but I don't know. I just, time management, man. Even when I'm not pregnant. Let's see, I didn't choose, I mean, I did choose. I didn't plan on vlogging today, and that slowed me down. And now I'm like, I was like standing in the shower thinking like, oh, do I want to get this shot? Do I want to talk about this? But you know, just like planning everything out. I'm like, whew. Oops, no. It's definitely going to be authentic, like I said. definitely. Oh, but one of the reasons why I thought, oh, today would be nice is Nick is gone. He's in Tahlequah. It's a city east of here. I mean, a town. It's a town. But there's a university there, and he's doing a clinic and a concert tonight. Anyway, and it's a little rainy today, and oh, the reason why it's easier to vlog when Nick's not here is because I don't feel so self-conscious when I'm like talking to nobody, which will eventually be everybody. Anyway, so he's not here, and the kid's in school, and it's like overcast, and I could just like sit on the couch all day and wallow, or I could like just get this started when I have the time. And I have some things to do, but you know, I'll try to multitask. Hello. What was the other reason why? Oh, the fall colors are really pretty right now. I'll show you at some point when I think to turn the camera around and do that. Wait, I want to put some lipstick on, at the very least. I also, it's kind of poor timing too, because I found a 3-hour-long podcast, which, sorry, I ate one almond. And nuts tend to get a little stuck in my throat every so often. Anyway, I don't actually watch or listen to podcasts like on whatever the podcast app or whatever you use. I refer to YouTube, but often the things I'm listening to are videos that were made to become podcasts. So, and this is one, and it's a 3-hour-long one. Oh, don't fall. It's very good. It actually seems incredibly serendipitous that I found this particular one. And I'm like an hour and 15 minutes into it already. I started it this morning. I was listening to it as I was trying to get us out of the house. And anyway, I really just want to, like, as they say, tuck in. I watch this one British vlogger all the time, and I've started to adapt her little Britishisms, and I don't mean to. I also worked with a lot of British people when I lived in LA. Like, I had a lot of British parents of students, a lot of them, and I am a bit of an Anglophile. So it's no surprise that I often will say bin bag instead of a trash bag. And it doesn't even cross my mind until someone will say something. I'm like, wow, I sound very silly. I'm sure they think I sound pretentious. I don't think British accents sound pretentious. I mean, us like 1% may sound a little pretentious, but most of them are very similar to accents that we have here in that they're like colloquial. I mean, is that how you would describe an accent? Anyway, wow, really getting off topic. What was I saying? I really want to tuck in, as my dear vlogger would say, with that podcast, a cup of coffee, and like my little Tetris game that I play on my phone, and just whittle away the hours doing that until it's time to go pick my kid up from school again, and then it's the toddler tsunami. I tried to do some alliteration there, but you don't pronounce the T in tsunami. A toddler tornado. There you go. Oh, guys. So, I guess I'll give a little backstory as to what's happened. So, I did film last year at this time of year. I think the last thing I shared... No, I didn't, did I? Oh, gosh. Maybe the last thing I did was, like, the October birthdays, I think. We just passed. Obviously, now it's November. And I filmed us going to the Christmas tree lot. We got a Christmas tree. We started our Advent readings, and ooh, you guys are just going to have to get used to that. Ooh. And it would have been a wonderful vlog. I think I just had a lot going on. I was in the middle of switching jobs to this other church singing job, and there was just a lot of music that I had to learn. I had a fresh 2-year-old. I just didn't film anymore after that. I never shared that one. Oh, and we did go to the pumpkin patch too, and I filmed a thing for that. And maybe I should edit those and post them. I don't know if that's gonna happen. Maybe like years later, I'll be like, hey, here's a surprise archived video. Because they're really cute, and I'd like to have the memories. Anyway, oh my gosh, these trees are so pretty. Yeah, I just got busy, and then I thought, who's watching this? I don't care to build an audience. I don't want to do it. So I didn't. I had the new job. It felt kind of awkward. I wanted to like, just kind of like slip into that new job gracefully without like people knowing I had a vlog and like vlogging them, and you know what I mean? It's weird. Now they probably wouldn't care, and they'd be like, oh, it's Afton. Of course she's gonna do something like this. Really love that job, by the way. So January, February, March, least favorite months of the year, because it's dark and gloomy. There's like not a lot going on. And there was Lent. And then, yeah, it's always hard. It's like the beginning of the year. It's like all depressive. You know, you get seasonal affective disorder, depression. And then you move right into Lent. Which is, it's good. Spiritually, it's really good. And so I did Lent, and I did a social media fast, which I thought would be maybe more fruitful than it was. I don't remember much from it. It's weird. It's pre-pregnancy. Just right before I got pregnant. It was also leading up to the 1-year anniversary of my grandma's death, my Mimi. So that was getting really real. And had the new job, all that, blah, blah, blah. And Nick and I talked quite a bit about when we would start trying again for a baby. And classic Nick and Afton fashion, it's like, wait, you know, let's consider all the facts, and then all of a sudden it's just like spontaneous and like, oh, to hell with it, let's just go for it. Like out of nowhere. It's like when our two moods will meet. But I mean, it was like, it wasn't that spontaneous. Like, it was like all of a sudden something kind of shifted and we were all like, what are we waiting for? Like, I had to say to myself, Afton, you're not going to lose any more weight right now. Like, you're not motivated, you're getting old, and you need to do this because it's getting harder and harder the older you get. So, and I think for Nick, it's like, you know, he was probably thinking like, come on, Nick, like, it's never not going to be, no, it's never going to be easy, you know, just do it. So, we started actively trying right around Easter, and it happened very quickly. And when was Easter? It's like April something, can't remember, but it was the anniversary of my grandma's death. And on April 26th, that's Nick's, my husband's birthday, we went out to like a brewery. I had some beers, not even really thinking about it, because like we had tried before. Oh, we tried like the previous fall, nothing happened. And I think around the holidays, and I know I was stressed and whatnot, but I had a period of what seemed like anovulation, but I think it was actually, I used the Clear Blue monitor to track ovulation, because we use the Marquette model of NFP, natural family planning, which I can talk about in a whole other video some other time. But I think when I was, my testing window, I wasn't catching my ovulation, and I think my my peak has become very small because I'm getting older, and I think it was missing it. So I thought I was going through this period of anovulation, so I went to this horrible OBGYN, meaning like horrible in that horrible bedside manner. Wow. I mean, he even said the words to me, well, if you're trying to get pregnant, you should probably be having more sex. When he was looking at my chart, and I was like, I'm not logging every single time we have sex. Like, don't worry, I know when I'm wow, am I really explaining this to you right now? Like, oh, this guy was, wow. Anyway, neither here nor there. He put me on progesterone. I can't remember what it was called, but, and that kick-started things. So that was cool, I guess. And then, yeah, and then the spring hit, blah, 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 blah. Tried it, bang, happened. Wow. Day after Nick's birthday, April 27th, I was home rehearsing. What were we singing? Oh, it was the Oklahoma Bach Choir. We were preparing to sing, can't remember, one of the Easter cantatas. I do remember that my friend Mireille was singing 51. That's all I remember. I don't remember what I sang though. But I was practicing it. I was taking some videos. Sometimes it's helpful for me to like video myself singing something so I can listen back with somewhat objective ears. So I was like videoing, and then I was just like, ooh, I gotta go to the bathroom. And this is the same thing that happened with when I found out I was pregnant with Minerva. It was like all of a sudden, I was like, a number 2 is calling. Sorry to be, but everyone poops. And so I went to the bathroom and I thought, oh, I'll just pee in a cup too and do a pregnancy test, but it probably didn't take, but who knows? And it's probably too early. I think I was at the 8-day mark, the 8 days past ovulation, or maybe it was 6. I'd have to do the math. But both times I have been able to predict it very early. I am a minute late. I'm not getting ready to pull up to the school, so I'm gonna have to. This is a really long story. It was bad timing. Bad timing. Yeah, so did the test. There it was. Of course, I think I did like one of the cheapy strips first, and it looked pretty evident. And I was like, what? Shaking, you know, the whole thing, like, what? Took the digital test. Sure enough, said yes with a little plus sign, just like with Minerva. Amazing. So Nick came home, I told him, we called all the family, and my sister's response was, are you kidding me? Because I had been sharing with her that we were going to be trying and yada, yada, yada. And it just, happened fast. But hey, in my later video that I will probably do at some point in time about NFP, about, fertility awareness methods, if you track it well, it could happen very fast. Anyway, so that is what happened. I got pregnant, found out April 27th. And I guess that's a good place to stop because I'm pulling up to the school right now. Gotta get the kid lit. She'll probably want to talk in the car and not let me talk to you all. Well, classic Afton fashion. I read the email wrong. And I was 30 minutes late. It wasn't 10:30. In the email they said that eventually they were going to be extending the time to 10:30. The pickup today was at 10. So because I was filming, I didn't see that the woman who runs the program texted me and was like, hey, there's not a lot of parking, but you can park in front of the school if you need. And I'm sitting here with Minerva. We'll see him when you get here. I'm like, and I read it and I was like, oh my gosh, I know exactly what happened because there were no other cars parked. Oh, and I immediately pulled up the email and looked at it and I was like, of course. But they were so sweet. And I walk in and she's like in the school office, sitting in there with them, talking their ears off. And they're like, she's just so precious. Wow, she's got an incredible I'm like, I know. Yeah, she's got an incredible vocabulary. She doesn't stop talking. Anyway, let's see. Where's that little girl? Can you say hi?
Hi.
Hi, what are you eating?
I'm eating raisins.
Yeah, they're actually dried cranberries, but she's arguing with me about that. It's Omega Mix from Trader Joe's. Anyway, you haven't seen her in a while. She's 3 now, and she's just as cute as ever. Had her first haircut. Huh, man. Now she decides not to talk. There's a security guard there at the school who collects vintage coins, and he has them like all in his car. He's like the nicest person. And anyway, she found out that he has coins and is always asking him for coins, and he will always give her some. So he just gave her like an 80-year-old like British coin of some sort. The other day he gave her some, oh, I can't even remember. Wait, she's got 3 like pretty special coins from him now. Ooh, I'm gonna go this way. Anyway, but that gave him enough time to go and do that. I was like, oh, I don't know if we have time to go do Brian's coins today, so I gotta get her to school. Well, anyway, I'm gonna get her to school and I'll come back on after that. All right. You take my hand?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you guys. I pulled up. It's like everything. If you want to do anything in this city, you got to do it like through a church. It is like, it's the buckle of the Bible Belt. I grew up in the Methodist church, and anyway, like everything happens at churches, including voting. I forgot today is midterms. This neighborhood is so pretty in certain areas. It's just so pretty. Oh, anyway, feeling pretty pregnant. Pretty loopy. It's 11:20 and I have to pick up Minerva between 1:45 and 2. So I'm like, I don't even know if I should just go home at this point. Do I even have time to do anything? So anyway, what was I gonna say? This pregnancy, 31 weeks. Found out we were pregnant in April. Found out in June, maybe? June or July, that we're having a boy. And we decided on a name for him. Long story short, my dad's always loved the name Max, Maximilian in particular. My sister and I were gonna be Maxes if we were boys, and this was the 80s, so they couldn't predict, you know, what we were going to be, and my dad always wanted sons, and he got 2 daughters and then 2 granddaughters. So we were pretty excited, like first boy in the family, right? On my side. And he suggested Max, and I was like, yeah, I know Max is your favorite. Like I was leaning toward George. But then like we found out it was a boy, and it just kind of clicked. And I said to Nick, I was like, I just feel like we should give it to him, and it just seems fitting. And then I started thinking, we wanted to name him after a saint too, and that was like getting difficult to decide. But then I was like, there is a saint named Max. It's Saint Maximilian Kolbe, who was like a badass. this Polish priest who gave his life for another man in Auschwitz during World War II. You know, completely devoted to Mary, and, you know, this incredible person, martyr for the church. Or I guess not a martyr for the church. He was a martyr for someone else. Anyway, distinctions. So I was like, I don't know, I think that's pretty fitting. And he was like, yeah, I agree. So we are naming him Maximilian Max Robert. And Robert is my dad's name. And so he was pretty touched by all of that and kind of in disbelief. But anyway, so Max Robert. And it's really cute too, because then we have a Max and a Min with Minerva. And we took all the family out to dinner. I mean, we didn't, my parents paid. It's more like they took all of us out to dinner, but specifically to reveal the name. It was pretty exciting. Ooh. Excuse me. So that was May or June, something like that. At the end of May, beginning of June, we drove from Oklahoma to upstate New York to go visit Nick's family. Never again will I do that drive. At least not while I'm in my first trimester. Wow. But we stayed at like a residence inn for like a week. Minerva still talks about hotels and says, I want to go back to the hotel. And I'm like, I don't. That was like, yeah, beginning of June. And there was my birthday. We did a family photo shoot for like the birth announcement. And then we had, you know, doctor's appointments and whatnot. And then we had the 20-week scan. When was that? July? No, August. It was August. Oh, got an arrow. I'm just gonna get home and then I will tell you the rest of everything with a cup of coffee. And I wanna do my hair. I'm gonna do my hair first. And then I'll come back and I'll be like all coiffed and presentable. And I'll launch into my next chapter of what all's going on. All right. There we go. Finish. Oh, you know what? I forgot mascara. I gotta do it. It's gonna bug me. Does that work? Can I balance that there? It's balanced on Minerva's, one of her water bottles on the couch. So maybe a little shaky. I keep my mascara in my purse because most of the time I'm doing it while we're in the car. So sometimes I forget to do it because it wasn't in my makeup bag. Like if I'm not going anywhere. I'm not seeing anyone today other than picking her up from school. But I've always been a big proponent of, you know, making yourself feel good and put together. Anyway, wow, I'm really dancing around everything because there are so many other things I'd rather be doing than talking about what is going on. I'm still not going to tell you yet because I want to eat this Babel. Babel came out with vegan ones. It's amazing. It's amazing. If you don't know, I'm vegan. And I can talk about that in another video at some point in time. But I've been vegan for a while now, like years. And we were raising our child vegan, our children vegan. And you can't change my mind. I will never eat animals again. I guarantee you I will never do it. I would much sooner drink human milk than an animal's milk. Wow. I'm just opening it all up today. Veganism and politics. And this is obvious that I would rather talk about anything else than what's going on. The reality of what's going on. I'm really, ooh, man. Suspense. I'm really making you wonder what's going on. Everything's okay with my marriage and with Nick. Neither of us are going anywhere. Everything's fine with my family. For the most part, actually, I do have some very, very ill family members right now. And not in my immediate family, per se, but close enough. And that's very troublesome. Also, I'm going to eat this Babel. and you're gonna wait. I mean, the packaging alone is just fun. Why wouldn't you be into this? I can't do huge bites. Like, that one was too big. Even with regular, normal cheese, I was like that. Gotta go slow. Oh. So where I left you hanging was at the 20-week scan. Now, if you've never been pregnant or had a baby, that wouldn't mean much to you. When you first find out you're pregnant, you go and do like a pregnancy test at the doctor's office and they'll confirm it, And then you set up appointments with your OBGYN, which OB stands for obstetrician, and that's someone who delivers babies kind of solely and deals with that. And a GYN is the gynecologist part, which is like women's health, pap smears, and all of that sort of stuff. So an OBGYN is someone who does all those things, which is common. Anyway, so set up care. You start seeing them for monthly checkups. And when you hit a certain age, they consider you geriatric. That is the medical term. Because like your eggs are geriatric at that point. And I'm 37. So, very geriatric. Like, I think my mom started going into like early menopause and like right around 40. So it's right around the corner. But I had fairly regular ovulation cycles until that one, which I think was just a small peak window. Anyway, so you do those monthly appointments, and because I was geriatric, my OBGYN, amazing woman, she delivered my 2 cousins. She was my grandmother's gynecologist, my mother's, and my aunt's. And yeah, she delivered my 2 cousins, and my aunt had a heart condition. So it was like high risk. And anyway, she was cool. She wanted to do the monthly ultrasounds, and she was like, just how I like to do it. She said, I also will be the doctor at the birth. I don't have like a team of people. It's just me. It's how I prefer to do things. And I said, good, that's how I prefer you do things too. I don't like having just a whole team of people just like up in my business all the time. But when you get pregnant, there's people up in your business all the time. So you do all these appointments, and then you can go in and do it's an option. You can go in and do a non-invasive prenatal testing. Which what that does is a blood test, and you can find out if there's any genetic abnormalities with the baby. Because through your blood, they can detect fetal blood. They also, the reason why I've always wanted to do it is because you can find out the sex of the baby early, which is great because I have 0 patience and I don't like surprises. So, I like surprises when they're good. I don't like bad surprises. And if we had a child that had some sort of genetic difference, we would want to prepare. Since I've already talked about politics and veganism and whatnot, I'm very pro-life. And both of us, and neither of us would ever consider, my mom is calling me right now, we would ever consider terminating. This is an awkward part to stop, but I need to take this. Sorry, that was an awkward place to stop. My mom's freaking buy some baby shower gifts from a friend who couldn't make it. And they gave them to her. We just would never terminate. It's very black and white for me. Same thing with my veganism. Very black and white. But I do like to know as early as I can, because we would want to prepare. If we had a child that had a trisomy, meaning like the most common one would be Down syndrome. And there are other ones like Angelman syndrome. One of my best friends, her brother has Angelman syndrome. It's a type of trisomy, which means there's like an extra chromosome in their DNA. I would want to know so I could mentally prepare, and it wouldn't be like I wouldn't be unprepared. Wow. I'm just a blanket apology for any burps. They can find out a lot of different things, not everything. So we did that, got a call. It's a boy, yay! And everything's normal. Max has normal DNA. Normal DNA. So it was like, wow, great, wonderful, so excited. Shortly thereafter, we had the 20-week scan. Now, 20-week scan is when, I might have to stop in a minute because my mom is coming by, and she's just right down the street. But the 20-week scan is when they do an ultrasound with a fetal medicine doctor, and they scan for, like, all of the anatomy. Not, like, all the fingers and toes. It's hard to count all of those, but that's when they can also see if it's a boy or a girl, for the most part. Sometimes it's hard to tell that early, but it's kind of the earliest that you can, like, actually physically see on an ultrasound. But then they also check for big anomalies like anencephaly, which is like when, like, the head doesn't form really, like part of the head forms. Those babies never survive. Other things like, I have two very close friends who found out very tough news at anatomy scans, that their babies wouldn't survive outside the womb. One of my friends, like, the baby had something wrong that caused his lungs to never develop. So he was fine as long as he was plugged into her, but once he was out in the real world and had to take his first breaths of air, he wouldn't be able to. Anyway, so we were pretty much, expecting a normal anatomy scan. And I will never forget the day before, my dad came by to do something. Are they here? Oi. Yes. You're back. Fun. Ooh, did you wrap them all yourself?
No, the big one and these two are for you and Max. And these ones are for Minerva. And Glenda said that she would need some, like, help with it because it's, like, more for big kids.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Neat. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll see you later.
Bye.
You feeling better? Okay. All right, bye. Love you. Thanks. Ugh. I don't want to knock the phone over. It's like, oh, look at all these presents. My mom's art studio partner. Oh, gifted all that. I'll open it in a bit. Okay. I know. You're waiting. You're like, what's wrong with your baby? The day before, my dad came over to do something, and I said, hey, tomorrow's the anatomy scan. He's like, oh, what was that? I was like, well, when I said say some prayers, he was like, what's that? What does it matter? I said, it's when they figure out if he's got all of his fingers and toes and all that stuff. And he was like, well, why are you worried about that? It's like, because it's very serious. Anyway, and I said, he could have something very, wrong with him. We just don't know. And he was like, well, don't think that way. Why would you think that way? Positive thoughts only. So we're sitting in the appointment, having the ultrasound done, dark room, chatting with the ultrasound tech, who's very sweet, Erin. And she was taking a lot of time on his heart. She kept, like, switching over to, like, this filter where it showed the red and blue blood pumping, I mean, I don't know anything about, I know something about anatomy, like, I know where organs are, like, their basic functions, but it's different on an ultrasound and on a little fetus, Anyway, my last anatomy scan with Minerva was, like, it was at a different place. Typically it is because it's fetal medicine. And it was with USC because we were in LA. And it was like, they didn't do any small talk. It was like 45 minutes. They, did the scan and then that was fine. They were like, everything looks good, see ya. But this one, and we didn't talk to, like, any doctor afterward. It was just the tech. And then they came back in. They were like, everything's fine. And that was that. We're waiting, and they were like, we're gonna have you come in and, talk with the doctor. Okay, so we go into his office, sit down, and he walks in with, like, a student, what would you call those? a resident, I guess. And I was like, uh-oh. They're bringing the resident in for a reason, because like they probably have something bad to tell us, and this is a good teaching opportunity for this student. My heart starts to beat out of my chest, and he said, everything is fine, but I don't like what I'm seeing with his heart. And my heart starts beating out of my chest, and it just felt like a dream. And he said, so many things. He saw what he thought were small growths in the left chamber of his heart, from what he could tell, and said these could be, most often when there are cardiac tumors in a heart, they're called rhabdomyomas, and they are like 90% of the time indicative of a genetic condition called tuberous sclerosis. And he's telling me all of this, and we have freaking masks on, and my glasses are fogging up because I'm hyperventilating. And I pulled it down. I said, I'm sorry, I can't breathe. He's like, you're fine. And, just kind of laid all this information on us. And he also said, separately, he noticed with his mitral valve, it looked like it wasn't there, or it was underdeveloped, which would be called mitral valve atresia, meaning not there. And, there's all these complications about any of that. And he just kind of was like, so what do you think? And it wasn't really like that, but it kind of came to the point where it was like, okay, here's the information. Now, parents, And I said, I'm sorry, I'm overwhelmed. Can you write all this down, please? He said, absolutely, wrote it down in his doctor handwriting. Asked him a lot of questions. And I remember, we made like a follow-up appointment and we left. And I could feel my legs being very shaky. I remember I couldn't put my arm down. Like my arm was up and I was just kind of like walking like this. Like I got to the elevator and Nick just gave me a hug, and I was trying really hard not to lose it, because I still had to like walk through a parking garage and whatnot. And my mind's just racing. Absolutely racing. I wanted to like quickly Google things. I immediately, once we got in the car, started to drive. My mom had Minerva at the time, and I think she had picked her up from school, and so we were heading back to her house, and I said, just go straight to Mama's, please, and I'll tell her. And Nick had something he had to go do. I mean, obviously he was upset too, I immediately got on my phone and I texted my friend, a high school friend, whose fourth child had a congenital heart defect. I can't remember exactly what his was. She told me, but like he had holes in his heart, like pretty serious. There was like, something was like completely not developed. And they found this out like way after he was born, like months after he was born. And like the pediatrician like just did like her routine, exam of the baby and listened to his heart. And she was like, I don't like how his heart sounds. I'm going to refer you to a pediatric cardiologist. And she was like, okay, And thank God they did, because once they checked him out, they were like, he's in rapid heart failure. Like he needs to go into surgery immediately. Anyway, that's what happened to her. And I texted her and I said, Cassandra, my baby has a heart defect, or my baby has tumors in his heart. I don't know what to do. Tell me what I need to do. I said something along those lines, and I said, I'm not okay. And as the words were being typed out of my thumbs, I just started sobbing. And she texted me back, or I think she called me immediately, and I'm very blessed with wonderful friends. And she was just kind of like, cry, just tell me everything and just cry. You're going to get through this. He is so lucky to have. I shouldn't have done my mascara. Watch my time. We got to my mom's house and went in and told her everything. The doctor had he made his referral for us to see a pediatric cardiologist in Tulsa. Oh, there were so many things we found out, like that there was no pediatric cardiologist, like surgeons here in Tulsa, and that we would most likely have to be referred over to the OU Children's Hospital in Oklahoma City. Broke all the news to my mom, and her response immediately was just crap. The kids, my niece was there playing with Minerva in the other room. We asked her to leave, for a minute, so she knew what was up, and we ended up telling her later that day. My sister came by, called her and said something's really serious, come by Mama and Daddy's. The Mama and Daddy's is like the meeting place, so it's like, come over and so we can tell you stuff, said the same to my dad, and so I explained it all to them, and it was incredibly sobering news. So then fast forward to our pediatric cardiology appointment with the pediatric cardiologist. We had another long ultrasound. It was very interesting sitting in there and seeing all these heart children walk in with congenital heart defects. So the statistic is 1 in every 100 child born will have a heart defect, like a serious one. It's very common. And of all of the serious ones, well, let me get to that. I don't know if it would have been considered a heart defect at this point because we were thinking it was rhabdomyomas and tumors and tuberous sclerosis. They start doing the ultrasound there, and, we saw these heart kids come in, and, these CHD kids, they have to do monthly checkups, all throughout their childhood. But it was kind of encouraging and sobering. The ultrasound tech was very sweet. She said she'd been doing this for 20 some odd years or something. And I remember saying something to her about because in between those two appointments I'd done, I mean, you probably would too, all of the research. And I am like a sponge when it comes to researching things on Google University. And I always tell doctors, when we met with the fetal medicine doctor, the one who diagnosed it, he was like, "Are you in the medical field?" And I was like, "No, I'm just insufferable." And I say that often to doctors, I research everything. So I had found a lot of stuff online, followed hashtags and whatnot for different things, learned a lot about tuberous sclerosis, and it was really hard to find any information about mitral valve atresia. Now that's in the left ventricle of the heart. So there are 4 chambers of the heart, right? And you have left and right. Which one will be left and right? Does that work for you? This is my left hand, so left and right. This may be mirror image, sorry. But down here you have the left ventricle, and then you have the right ventricle down here, right atrium and left atrium, just so you know. And the mitral valve is in the left ventricle. So that kind of led me down this path of reading about this condition, a defect, a very serious one called hypoplastic left heart syndrome. And I mentioned it to the tech at the pediatric cardiologist, and she's like, "Oh, I've diagnosed tons of those." It's interesting. And the techs can't say a lot, actually. They can't say a lot about what they're currently looking at on the screen. That is up to the doctor. They do the scans, they give the scans to the doctor, and then you have the consultation with the doctor. That's how the legality of it all works. Sat down, the waiting for that. I mean, because the pediatric cardiologist was taking her time, and you want them to. And we were sitting in that room after the ultrasound for a very long time. And she finally came in. She was wonderful bedside manner, and gave us the rundown. And she said she thought she saw a tumor blocking the opening of his aorta, which is the other major valve in the left ventricle. some other, like, and she gave us sizes for tumors. She said the mitral valve was there, but maybe what he had been seeing, the other doctor had been seeing, was that there were tumors on it. And so that was her guesstimate about it. Now, this meant that, okay, we were most likely looking at tuberous sclerosis then. She also said, like, with rhabdomyomas, they oftentimes shrink before birth or shortly thereafter and aren't a problem. But since these were blocking valves, these tumors were blocking valves, could be a big problem. Your baby could most likely need a heart transplant. She's like, I'm just going to be very real with you. Fetal hearts are very hard to come by. And that means that another baby would have had to die. And then there was a lot of talk about that the closest place where transplants happen for babies was in St. Louis. And that I would probably have to be like airlifted there. And then all of a sudden all my anxieties about flying and whatnot were coming. I was like, you're going to have to knock me out. You know, like I was just like trying to like control every situation. Anyway, after we found out all of that, then she made a referral for us for a genetic counselor to talk about getting him tested or us tested to see if we were carriers of tuberous sclerosis. Tuberous sclerosis can cause a lot of, so like tumors to form. Tubers is what they are. They're non-cancerous, and they mainly form in the heart of babies, and then later they can move around to like livers and kidneys and notably the brain, and then can cause epilepsy and seizures throughout a person's life. And there's a huge scale of variation, like of severity of tuberous sclerosis, and it just depends, and it has to be monitored. They have a lot of medication for these patients to manage the seizures. That can be very helpful. Anyway, that's what we were looking at. And I remember her saying, like, I could be wrong. And if I am, I will be the first one to throw a party for you. Which is very sweet. So we left feeling like, okay, you know, these are some more answers, I guess. I think it was a while. I think we went back to fetal medicine again. They did another ultrasound, and they were like, the tumor's grown. But, and the other thing was, the pediatric cardiologist said, I don't see any function on the left side of his heart. Like, it's not really pumping. The walls look thick. So they were thinking because there was lack of blood flow from the tumors blocking the aorta and the mitral valve, that was causing an underdevelopment of the left side. Went back to the fetal medicine doctor. They were seeing the same. And that was the prayer we started asking everyone for. It was like, let's pray for the left side of his heart, that it just starts pumping. Because if it doesn't start pumping, then we're looking at a heart transplant, and that's really bad. You know, like, tuberous sclerosis, we'll deal with it, you know, but like, can't deal with it if he doesn't have a functioning heart. And so we were asking specifically for that prayer of like, we're praying that the left side of his heart pumps. Everyone just pray for that, please. Go to the next fetal medicine appointment. And they were like, the left side's pumping. You know, it looks like there's some blood flow happening. We don't like that, you know, the tumor's gotten bigger, the walls are thick. You know, we don't like this, how this looks. But the left side's pumping. We're like, we're going to take that as a win. That's a win. Okay, we can deal with all this. I talked to the genetic counselor. It was a very emotional call, and it was very weird, too. I had to take it. It was like it was a virtual call, and I had to take it. Oh, and also, like, the geneticist's assistant was the sister of a girl I went to high school with, and she, like, had to give me a separate email, and she was like, hey, because we've been communicating, and she was like, I have to let you know that I actually know you in real life. And if you don't want me to work on this with you, you know, completely understand, just let me know. But like, I have to ethically let you know that I know you. And I was like, oh my gosh, how are you? Last time I ran into her, side note, was when we did our road trip to New York, and we were at a rest stop in Missouri. And I was like, Erica? Like, it was just bizarre. And like, I reminded her of that. And she was like, that's right. How weird. Anyway. And then the other weird part was I had this meeting up at Minerva's day school, which is at the church where I grew up, and they let me use one of the church offices to have that meeting. And it was just really bizarre because I hadn't been in that office since probably middle school or something like that. It's very weird. And I remember talking with them, and I was just basically saying, like, listen, if we can find out, it's like with tuberous sclerosis, the parents can be carriers of it. That's usually, no, it's like, I think it may be like 50-50. It's like either the parents are carriers of it or it just happens. And there's no telling why. So we wanted to know if we were carriers because we were worried about Minerva. You know, it's like, if we're carriers, then maybe she has it. And sometimes it doesn't get diagnosed until they start having seizures. And they're like, what's up? Do brain scan. Oh, there's tumors in the brain. Oh, the rhabdomyomas is tuberous sclerosis. And sometimes the onset of that doesn't happen until like they're 2 or 3. And, you know, I was just like, of course, you can understand spinning about all of this. I remember crying to this geneticist on the phone saying, like, can we please just test me and my husband to see if we're carriers? And he was like, I just don't see the need for it. You're going to find out at some point anyway. And we could find out that you're not carriers. And then we'd just still be in the same place. You know, easiest thing to do is to directly test him when he's born. I was like, I don't really understand that unless it's like a money thing. Not fully, but like, okay, I'm going to trust you. I'm emotional. I'm trying to control an uncontrollable situation. Okay. All right. So, and I decided against amniocentesis because there's a risk attached with that. And I'm like, I'm not going to give this child any more risk at life, you know, like, because they stick a huge needle into it's a genetic test, but they test like the amniotic fluid. And so they go into the uterus, like through your belly with this huge needle, pull out fluid, can test the DNA that way. But there's a risk of like your waters breaking, the amniotic sac breaking, and then that would be bad. So decided not to, and we decided to work on our patience and just wait until he was born to do any sort of testing. Finally had my transfer, my referral go through for OU Children's Hospital in Oklahoma City to see the team there, pediatric cardiologist and whatnot, and that's where the surgeons are. So we do that scan, ultrasound. When was that? Maybe like 2 months ago? 2 months ago? Met with a very young cardiologist there. And this is like it's a great hospital. They have an incredible cardiac unit, pediatric cardiac unit. And he sat down with us and was like, I don't see any tumors in his heart. And immediately I'm like, is this a miracle? Are we dealing with a miracle? We've been praying for a miracle. And he said, I don't see any tumors in his heart. And I just immediately knew, and I said, it's hypoplastic left heart syndrome, isn't it? And he said, yes. It's like everything I had been reading about, the thickening of the wall, the lack of movement. Oh, and he said, I didn't just kind of come up with that. He was like, I don't see the left side functioning at all. It's underdeveloped. And that's when I was like, it's that, isn't it? Like, I read about that one. I've been following another family's journey on Instagram with their baby dealing with this. He's 2 now and waiting for a transplant. And it seemed incredibly serious. And I thought to myself, oh gosh, I wouldn't want to deal with that. We're going to deal with it. And then there was a really fun thing happening where we went back to fetal medicine. They were like, really? We thought it was tumors. And we still think it's tumors. And the pediatric cardiologist here in Tulsa was like, I think it's tumors too. And we went back and did another scan. And then they finally sent files back and forth to each other. And the Tulsa doctors conceded. And everyone's in agreement now that it's hypoplastic left heart syndrome. All of my care has been transferred over to OU Children's Hospital. I will be delivering there. So, Max has an underdeveloped left side of his heart. Don't ask me about the tumors. I don't know. it's hard to see things on ultrasounds. That's all I can make sense of any of it. We saw fetal medicine also, and they confirmed it. Fetal medicine in Oklahoma City, and they confirmed hypoplastic. So it was like 4 doctors, like 2 on this side and 2 on this side. The real specialists were in Oklahoma City, and so that's why everyone was like, okay, we'll defer to them. And as he's grown, it's gotten a little bit easier to see what all is going on. And the thing about hypoplastics is they are considered a single ventricle defect. So basically they have one side of their heart that functions and the other side is underdeveloped and small. And there is a series of 3 surgeries that these babies receive. The first, and they're all named after the surgeons that developed them. And they're incredible. You can like go to other YouTube videos and find, hypoplastic left heart syndrome surgeries, and it'll tell you all about what they do. And basically what all 3 of them do together is they reroute all of the blood flow to where it's everything, the whole function of the heart happens on the right side of the heart, and the left side just becomes null and void. So like they're like literally like plumbers, like rerouting the plumbing of their hearts are up here, rerouting the plumbing of their hearts all to the right ventricle and atrium and whatnot. So he will, right after being born, they're going to give him a drug to keep his ductus arteriosus valve open, which is a fetal valve, which all babies have when they're born. They have it in the womb and while they're born, because it has to do with like the babies aren't breathing in the womb. They don't breathe until they come out. They're like literally swimming in a pool of amniotic fluid, a bag of it. They come out, then they get to use their lungs. They don't need that ductus arteriosus or the PDA valve anymore, and it just dissolves. Well, they can give them a medication, prostaglandins, that will keep it open for a few days so they can run diagnostic tests to really look at his heart. They finally get like a full glimpse at it, and they can have a plan of attack, right? So they'll do that. Sometimes it can be like a day to 2 days to like a week before they go into the first surgery. But he will be stabilized right after birth, which means next to none, like skin time, breastfeeding, like all of that, which is really hard. I mean, I'm just going to stay very like facts right now. But please trust me that like I've cried many, many, many tears over so many things about this. So they're going to stabilize him, and then they're going to do the first surgery, which is the most intensive, and it's called the Norwood. They're basically like sewing the aorta onto the pulmonary valve in the right ventricle, and they're doing some other stuff too. That's pretty big. And they told us at this hospital that we could be there for up to 3 months as he recovers. I've also seen like some babies go home after like 2 weeks. Some babies go home after a month. Some babies never come home. It just depends. There's so many complications that can come up with it. So I'll have that surgery, and then about 4 to 6 months of life, they'll go back in for the second, called the Glen. Don't ask me what goes into that one. I'm just focusing on the Norwood right now. But then they'll have the Glen. And then about like, 5, 6 years of age? No, 2 years of age. It's like when they start walking and they're like running a lot and like the blood flow, they need more oxygen, right? Like after the Glen, usually these babies like will be blue, because there's so much, it has to do with the rerouting and oxygen and whatnot, but like basically like these babies are blue, like they'll get blue lips very easily. You can kind of tell when there's like a heart kid when they like do any sort of physical activity and their lips start to turn blue. But once they get like, about 2 years old, they're moving around a lot more, the blood flow really changes, the heart starts to really develop, and that's when they go in for the third surgery called the Fontan, which is like a shunt of some kind. And then sometimes they have to have more than the 3, which I've been reading about. I've joined like all the Facebook groups and whatnot, and there's so many other things. And a lot of times like these surgeries just don't work. I mean, they've done everything they can, but you know, every one of these patients is different, and how they respond to it is different. And so a lot of them have to go in for heart transplants, and it's very hard to get a transplant at that young, which is tragic also. Anyway, so yeah, they've transferred all of my care over to Oklahoma City. They're going to give me an induction date. Now, if I go into labor here in Tulsa, then I'll just go to the nearby hospital, deliver there. That's where my doctor's at, my original OBGYN. And deliver there, and then we'll probably be airlifted. One of my biggest fears. Try to be excited about it, I guess. To Oklahoma City. And I will be staying in the Ronald McDonald House, which is so funny. We've always had a Ronald McDonald House here in Tulsa, and I used to think as a kid, like, is that where Ronald McDonald lives? Like, from McDonald's? And I never knew exactly what it was. I'm sure someone told me once, but I wasn't paying attention. But now I really know what it is. It's a wonderful organization, whatever you want to call it, that puts parents up who have children in, you know, the hospital. It's a place where, like, out-of-town parents can stay. It's amazing. For free. It's amazing. So, hey, if you're thinking about doing any sort of donations this year, maybe consider Ronald McDonald House. So I will be staying at that one in Oklahoma City, and all these heart nurses we've been meeting are incredible. Most of them have heart babies themselves. That's why they got into this. And our point person, Gina, who's been great so far, she has nothing but good things to say about that particular Ronald McDonald House and how nice it is. So we'll be staying there. We'll keep Minerva with us. I'm sure my parents will be up there. They'll get a hotel. He'll go into his first surgery a few days after he's born, and so everyone will definitely be up there for surgery day. That's what they said. They said because of COVID restrictions, can't have a lot of people at the birth, but you'll want everyone there for operation day, and there are no restrictions on that. So I'm due January 7th. They want it, so it'll be 40 weeks. They want to induce me at 39, roughly. But like I said, that's New Year's. So I don't know if they're going to do it earlier than that or later. I was 41 weeks when I finally induced with Minerva. And my mom went late with both me and my sister. My sister went about 41 weeks with my niece. You can kind of gauge how long you'll go until labor by tracking your maternal history. You know, we're gonna have tons of people helping us out. People coming to water my plants, feed the cats. Pardon me. Nick is taking on more class. He got work at the local university here, at Tulsa University, and he's gonna be picking up 2 or 3 more classes in January, which is great for us money-wise. But that means he has to stay here. We can't just relocate to Oklahoma City. A lot of these families that get this diagnosis, they're in places where, like, you can't just drive. Oklahoma City is an 1.5-hour drive for us. It's not too bad. There could be inclement weather, which would be bad. The meteorologists are predicting that we're going to have 2 major, like, ice events this winter. So we will see. But, like, some people, like, they have to completely move. You know, there's people I've read about moving to Boston, moving to Houston. There's a big hospital there, moving to St. Louis, you know. Sorry, I'm watching these squirrels outside, and I'm always terrified that there's going to be a squirrel that gets hit right in front of me. I hate it. They're fine. Anyway, but we're lucky that we're close enough to Oklahoma City to where we can just go back and forth. So Nick's going to be working here. We really don't want Minerva's life to be too interrupted. I mean, it's going to be completely interrupted, but, like, I don't want to relocate her and live somewhere temporarily and have someone come and, like, live with our cats. Like, it makes more sense for Nick to stay here with Minerva, keep her in school, and then them coming up, like, on the weekends or, you know, throughout the week, just depending on there are too many unknowns right now to really plan. But that is kind of the rough plan, that I will be staying there with Max full time until he can come home. If he's there for a long time, say he's there for like 6 months, say he's there up until his Glenn surgery, like, there may come a time when I need to get back to things here in Tulsa and be with my daughter. And you know what I mean? There's too many unknowns. He will be completely cared for at the hospital. Obviously, I won't be working. I make like close to $1,000 during the busy seasons at the church, meaning like not summer. The busy season is not summer. That's the non-busy season. Like $1,000 a month, which is not nothing. I mean, that's our mortgage. Oh, by the way, we bought our house. This is ours now. So I've gotten to paint rooms and stuff, and I'll give you a house tour soon. I'll definitely give you a nursery tour whenever I finally finish doing up his nursery, which, by the way, has also been very hard to motivate myself to do because we don't know what else is going on. The other thought about doing this vlog is that I may have a lot of downtime sitting by myself at the Ronald McDonald House or sitting in the cardiovascular ICU with Max, that, I will have maybe a lot of time to edit. And okay, and I contacted a YouTuber friend of mine who's wonderful. I'll rep her right now. I'll give her a shout out. Jess Hover. We had a funny connection. Long story short, I started watching her YouTube videos right after I had Minerva because I was sitting around just breastfeeding all day and was watching YouTube, and her video came up, and I watched like her labor and delivery, and then I noticed it was like the same hospital that I delivered in, and I could hear her doctor's voice in the background. I was like, that was my doctor who I loved. Messaged her, found out like, yeah, and I even saw her in the waiting room once, like before that, and I was like, that was you. So we never actually got to meet, and we lived in the same city. Never actually got to meet because COVID hit, and then we moved here. But we've stayed in touch, and she knows all what's going on. And I asked her if I could have a phone meeting with her the other day to talk about YouTube and whatnot. And probably the best thing she did was ask me like, well, what's your why? Why do you want to do this? Do you want to connect with people? Do you want to make money? Do you want to spread awareness about what you're going through? And I said, it's less about connecting with people, and no offense to anyone. We're musicians. I've led many different lives in the music world. My husband is pretty well known where he is, and we know a lot of people. And more so, a lot of people know us, and it can get really overwhelming. So my goal with this is not to like create connections. I mean, I'm always happy for like authentic, lovely connections, but more so to, spread the awareness and, maybe monetize these. But I mean, I'm not going to work really hard at building my audience. I'm not. I know myself. So more so to document what else going on, to, like, archive it for us, and to share our story for other people who may be getting similar diagnoses. That's why I'm doing this. So I hope you all stay tuned and bear with me as we go through probably one of the most difficult chapters of our lives. I'd say my biggest worries right now, are obviously for Max, but really for Minerva and for our marriage and like our vocation of marriage, if you know what I mean, in the Catholic sense, and for my family, for our cats, for our income. Oh, I was going to say we started a GoFundMe, and it's been absolutely incredible. Really toyed with the idea of doing it or not, but I thought, well, okay, I'll just set the goal at like what I would be making, like say in like 10 months or like a year being away from my church job, which would be about like 10 grand. If not, it's probably would be a bit more, but we're like up to $7,500 already with the GoFundMe. It's just amazing. I'm getting a low power mode notification. So That's going to be very helpful. It'll help with gas, getting us fed, helping Nick and Minerva out here. He's going to be like super dadding it for months. And I'm worried about the toll that that's going to take on him. It's a lot of worries. There's a lot of beautiful things that can come from this too. Something about the whole picking up your cross and bearing it. Life is full of suffering, and it's in that suffering that we find the meaning. It's in the tests and trials of life that we can be closer to God. We're being offered a gift right now, and I have to keep reminding myself of that. And some of the most beautiful words I've heard from people throughout all of this is that we were chosen for Max, and he chose us. It's a tall order. Someone said, you are the perfect people for him. And I feel the tugs of just wanting to check out and, I don't want this, I don't want this. But then there's the other huge part of me that's I want nothing more. I asked for this. I asked to grow in holiness. I asked for the trials. Because I know I've been given a ticket to virtuousness. Here comes Frida. She's gonna knock the phone over. You say hi? Huh? Hi. This little lady could use some prayers too. She's not been well. She keeps chewing all of her fur off. Look at this. She just gets so nervous. She chews her fur and then she throws up and throws up and throws up. The vet says all of her blood work comes back just fine. She's just a nervous cat. So I'm worried about her. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up because now it's gotten really long. I thought maybe I'd take you along to pick her up from school and do the rest of the day, but I don't know. I think this is sufficient. I think I should just leave it there. I'm gonna link the GoFundMe in all my videos because I'm not too proud to say that we're gonna need financial help. And we're very lucky that we have Sooner Care, which is like Medicaid, and it's been covering pretty much everything so far. I don't know how far that's going to stretch. And I have not looked into it in depth because the last time I poked my Medicaid when I lived in California, it was one of the biggest headaches I had ever experienced. So I'm not going to poke it. I'm just going to let it do its thing until, we start getting letters in the mail saying you owe us thousands and millions of dollars. But I think so far, I think we're going to be really lucky with health insurance. But otherwise, there's just, the lack of my income. I haven't been teaching at all since I got pregnant. I mean, I tried to for a couple months and it just became too much. I had really bad not morning sickness, but just nausea and all day long and exhaustion. And he was, whatever the wives' tales are, boys make you more nauseous in my experience. So I haven't been teaching. We've already taken a hit this year anyway, and now we own our house, and which is a whole other story, but we're actually paying less now that we own it, which is great. I'm going to link the GoFundMe. That's the point. I'm not too proud to say that we're going to need help financially. I'm also not too proud to say that Nick and I have spent most of our lives being financially irresponsible. That's, something we've learned. But if we have been wise in any way, it's that we've made incredible investments in our friends and with our connections and the friendships we've built with people, because obviously $7,500 in just a little over a week, that's incredible. And the SHIT hasn't even hit the fan yet. So I'll link it. I'll try to keep you all updated. I may have some fun stuff here and there. One of the things I'm really grateful right now is that we're going to get to have a Christmas here in Tulsa. You know, I mean, granted that I don't go into labor before then, but I am looking forward to that. We'll have a full Advent season together. I just finished up pretty much 99% of the Christmas shopping yesterday, which is great. And I'll give you a nursery tour. Like, there'll be some fun things. We're going to try to be positive together. How about that? Try to be positive together. I can use all the support and prayers. We are asking specifically for intercessory prayers from St. Maximilian Kolbe, his namesake, from Blessed Stanley Rother, and Venerable Archbishop Fulton Sheen, if you will, if you pray in that way. Otherwise, we're praying for healing, praying for the surgeons, for his medical team, praying for our strength, for our patience, for our marriage, for Minerva's well-being, and for my family. Also asking for prayers for my extended family who are in very poor health. Yeah. So guys, thanks for tuning in. Sorry to keep you hanging for so long, but hey, us humans, we like suspense, right? And look forward to my next video. I don't know what it will be or when, but it'll be good. Thanks.